So we just read The King of the Golden Mountain by the Grimm's brothers, and we'll give a summary of it and then kind of talk about it. So there was a certain merchant who had two children, a boy and a girl, and they were both young and could not walk. And the merchant had two richly laden ships that sailed forth with all his property, and he was expecting to get a lot by his investment, but instead he became a poor man, and he lost everything, and he was left with nothing but one field outside the town. So, in order to get rid of his misfortune, he went out to this field, and as he was walking back and forwards in it, a little black mannequin stood suddenly by his side and asked him why he was so sad. And uh, the merchant asked him for some help if he told him. And the black dwarf says, "Yes, who knows? Maybe I can help you." And uh, he says, and they basically make a deal. If you will promise to give me the first thing that rubs itself against your leg when you are at home again, bring it here to this place in 12 years' time. You will have as much money as you will. So the merchant thought, that must be talking about my dog. He kind of didn't forgot about his son, and he gave the man a written and sealed promise and went home. So when he reached home, his little boy was so delighted uh, that he tottered up to him and seized him by the legs. And the father was shocked, uh, but he couldn't do anything about it. And since he saw no money in his chest, he thought maybe this whole thing had been a joke. And so, but a month afterwards, he goes up to his attic and he finds a heap of money lying there, and he's made happy again, and he becomes a greater merchant than before. But as the 12th year approaches, he gets more and more anxious, and the boy can tell that his father feels this way, but father won't share with him what's going on. But finally, he tells him, and the boy says that, um, well, don't be uneasy. All will go well. The black man has no power over me. So the son had himself blessed by the priest, and when the time came, they went together, and the son made a circle and placed himself inside it with his father. Then the dwarf came and said to the old man, "Have you brought with you what you have promised me?" And he was silent, but the son said, "What do you want here?" Then the dwarf said, "I have to speak to your father, not with you." The son replied, "You have betrayed and misled my father. Give back the writing." Uh, and the dwarf says, "No, I will not give up my rights." And they spoke together for a long time, but at last they agreed that the son, since he did not belong to Satan and he was not did not belong to his father, should seat himself in a small boat, and he should lie on the water which was flowing away from them, and the father should push it off with his own foot, and then the son should remain given up to the water. So that happened, and the boat capsized, and the father went away thinking his son was lost forever and mourned him. The boat, however, did not sink, and it quietly floated away, and it went for a long time until it went to an unknown shore. And when he landed, the son saw a beautiful castle, and he went to it. But when he entered, he could tell it was bewitched. Every room was empty except for the last one, where there was a snake coiled in a ring. And the snake was an enchanted maiden who told him, "Oh, my deliverer, have you come? I've been waiting 12 years for you. The kingdom is bewitched, and you must set it free." And he asked how he could do that. And she said, "That night, 12 black men will come covered with chains, who will ask what you are doing here. Keep silent, give them no answer, and let them do what they will with you. They'll torment you, beat you, stab you, let everything pass. At 12 o'clock, they must go away again. On the second and third night, this will also happen, except 12 more will come. And on the third night, there'll be more, and they'll cut off your head. But if you have not spoken at all and endured everything, you will be released, and I will come with the water of life and rub it on you, and you'll come back to life again and be healthy. And then he said, "So yeah, I'll set you free." And everything happened as she had said. And then he endured everything without saying anything. And so they got married. He became king of the Golden Mountain, and they lived very happily together for a while. The queen bore him a fine boy. And when 8 years had passed, the king thought of his father, and he wanted to go see him. The queen, but however, would not let him go away and said, "I know beforehand it will cause my unhappiness." But he suffered her to have no rest until she consented. At their parting, she gave him a wishing ring and said, "Take this ring and put it on your finger, and you will immediately be transported wherever you would be. Only you must promise me not to use it in me in wishing me away from this place and with your father." So that he promised. He put on the ring. He wished himself to the outside the town where his father lived. The sentries would not let him in because of how rich and strange he was dressed. And so he went to a hill where he exchanged clothing, and he put on his old shepherd's coat, and then he entered the town without hindrance. Then he came to his father, but his parents did not recognize him. Uh, and then he said, "Do you know of a way you could recognize me?" And they said, "Well, our son had a raspberry mark under his right arm." And so he showed them that, and then they admitted that he must be their son. Then said the father, and then he told them about his story about being king of the Golden Mountain, and the father would not believe him. Uh, because he's dressed in a shepherd's ragged coat, and the son got angry, and he forgot about his promise, and so he wished his wife and his child to him, and breaking the promise. And the queen, she wept and reproached him for doing that. So then he led her out of town into the field and showed her the stream where the little boat had been pushed off. And then he said, "I am tired. Sit down, and I will sleep while I am on your lap." And while he was asleep, she left and took the ring with her and wished herself back to the kingdom. So when he awoke, um, his wife and child were gone, of course, and the slipper that she was wearing was still there as a token. And home to your parents you cannot return, thought he. They would say that you are a wizard. So you must be off and walk until you arrive in your own kingdom. So he went away and came at length to a hill by which three giants were standing, disputing with each other because they did not know how to divide their father's property. When they saw him passing by, they called to him and said little men had quick wits, and that he was to divide their inheritance for them. The inheritance, however, consisted of a sword, which, if you took it in your hands and said, "All heads off but mine," every head would lie on the ground. And secondly, there was a cloak, which made anyone who put it on invisible. And third, there was a pair of boots, which could transport the wearer to any place he wished in a moment. He said, "Give me three things that I may see if they are still in good condition." So they kind of negotiate with him a little bit too, but he's eventually able to put on the cloak and abscond with all the items. Um, so he got uh the boots to what were the boots for? Just
Mm,
make you go very swiftly. So the boots take you anywhere you wish. So they gave him the boots, and now so he absconded with all the things. Um, and when he was near his palace, he heard shouts of joy, and it turns out his wife is getting remarried, and he fell into a rage and felt betrayed. So he put on his cloak and went into the palace. When he entered the dining hall, a great table was spread with delicious food, and the guests were eating and drinking and laughing and jesting. She sat on a royal seat, and he placed himself behind her so that he ate all her food and drank all her wine so that she couldn't get anything. And she was dismayed and ashamed. She arose and went to her chamber and wept, but he followed her there, and he said, "Has the devil?" She said, "Has the devil power over me, or did my deliverer never come?" And then he struck her in the face and said, "Did your deliverer never come? It is he who has you in his power, you traitor. Have I deserved this from you?" And then he made himself visible, went into the hall and cried, "The wedding is at an end. The true king has returned." And so all the kings and princes and counselors were assembled there, and they ridiculed and mocked him. But did not trouble to answer them, and said, "Will you go away or not?" At this they tried to seize him, and he drew his sword and said, "All heads off but mine." And all the heads rolled on the ground, and he alone was master, and once more king of the Golden Mountain.